Imagine a world where three of the richest men alive, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mukesh Ambani, combine their wealth. Even then, their combined net worth would pale in comparison to one man who lived over a century ago. A man whose personal wealth was so vast that it remains unmatched to this day. A man who, at his peak, controlled 90% of America's oil supply. His name, John D. Rockefeller. But here's the twist. Rockefeller wasn't born into wealth. He wasn't handed a silver spoon or a golden ticket. He came from a poor family, so poor that they often didn't have enough food to eat or a proper roof over their heads. Yet in just 15 years, he transformed himself from a penniless boy into the richest and most powerful man in the world. How did he do it? What was his secret? And how did he rise to such unimaginable heights, only to face the wrath of the U.S. government itself? This is the story of John D. Rockefeller, the man who built an empire, revolutionized an industry, and became the world's first billionaire. Chapter 1. Humble Beginnings. The year was 1839. In a small farming community in Richford, New York, a boy named John Davison Rockefeller was born. His family was poor, so poor that they often struggled to put food on the table. John's father, William Avery Rockefeller, was a con artist who made a living by selling fake medicines and scamming people. He was rarely home, leaving John's mother, Eliza, to raise the children alone. John's childhood was marked by hardship. He watched his mother and siblings go hungry, while his father squandered money on his schemes. But even as a child, John had a sharp mind and an unshakable work ethic. By the age of 10, he was already earning money by raising turkeys and selling potatoes. He saved every penny, learning the value of hard work and discipline early on. One day, John's father was arrested on charges of sexually assaulting a young girl. Though he was eventually released, the scandal forced the family to leave town and start over in Cleveland, Ohio. It was here that John's life would take a dramatic turn. Chapter 2. The First Job. At 16, John landed his first job as a bookkeeper at a small firm called Hewitt & Tuttle. The salary was meager 50 cents a day, but John was thrilled. He worked tirelessly, mastering the intricacies of accounting and business operations. It was during this time that he developed a lifelong habit. No matter how much he earned, he always donated 10% of his income to charity. John's ambition was evident even then. One day he held up a $4,000 check and declared, "One day I'll earn more than my boss." His colleagues laughed, but John was dead serious. He knew he was destined for greatness. Chapter 3. The Birth of an Empire. By the age of 20, John had saved enough money to start his own business. He partnered with Morris Clark, a chemist, and together they founded Clark and Rockefeller, a company that dealt in wholesale goods like grain, hay, and meat. The business was a success, but John had his sights set on something bigger. In the 1860s, the American Civil War broke out, and the demand for goods skyrocketed. John and Maurice seized the opportunity, making a fortune by supplying the Union Army. But John wasn't satisfied. He wanted to dominate an entire industry, and he found his opportunity in oil. Chapter 4. The Oil Revolution. At the time, oil was a relatively new commodity. It was primarily used to produce kerosene, which fueled lamps and provided light. But the oil industry was chaotic, with prices fluctuating wildly due to oversupply and lack of regulation. John saw an opportunity. He teamed up with Samuel Andrews, a chemist who had developed a more efficient way to refine crude oil into kerosene. Together, they founded Standard Oil in 1870. John's vision was clear: to control every aspect of the oil industry, from drilling to refining to distribution. Chapter 5. The Art of Monopoly. John's strategy was ruthless but brilliant. He used aggressive pricing to undercut competitors, driving them out of business. Once they were bankrupt, he would buy their refineries at rock-bottom prices. He also struck secret deals with railroads, securing massive discounts on shipping costs in exchange for exclusive contracts. By the 1880s, Standard Oil controlled 90% of America's oil supply. John had become the most powerful man in the industry, and his wealth was growing at an unprecedented rate. But his success came at a cost. Chapter 6. The Backlash. As Standard Oil's dominance grew, so did public outrage. Journalists like Ida Tarbell exposed John's shady business practices, accusing him of monopolizing the industry and exploiting workers. The U.S. government took notice, and in 1911, Standard Oil was broken up into 34 smaller companies under the Sherman Antitrust Act. But here's the irony. The breakup made John even richer. As the owner of 30% of Standard Oil's shares, he became a major stakeholder in each of the new companies. When these companies went public, their stock prices soared, multiplying John's wealth exponentially. Chapter 7. The Legacy. By the time of his death in 1937, John D. Rockefeller's net worth was estimated at $340 billion in today's dollars. But his legacy extends far beyond his wealth. He evolutionized the oil industry, set new standards for business efficiency, and became one of the greatest philanthropists in history, donating over $500 million to education, medicine, and scientific research.